Hey folks, Justice for the Real Whites here. So in this video I want to talk about, has social media ruined humanity and society in general? And in that way I think it has. And I may sound hypocritical for bringing this up, and I am using a piece of media right now, but I'm going to talk about all the bad stuff that social media contributes to. Way back in the day, like in the, probably before I was even born, I was born in 2000, but probably back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, technology wasn't as advanced as it is now. I think it only started to really pick up like in the late 80s, early 90s, because, computers got better, and, that was a time when digital cameras were getting, like really big. And, that was a bit before I was born, and obviously when I was born in 2000, it got more advanced. And of course, Facebook and all that came out, and MySpace and Twitter and all this other shit, they came out. And I think in many ways these platforms have really contributed to our humanity going down the shitter and not be able to hold a reliable conversation with people anymore. Back in the day, if you go somewhere, you can sit with people and just have a civilized conversation without any social media. And back then phones weren't as advanced as they are now. I mean, this phone that I got, it's got a camera on it, but back in the day they had phones that didn't have cameras. They were just flip up phones, and back in the day you could have a conversation with somebody without someone just scrolling through their phone and not even hardly paying attention to you. Because if you have a conversation with somebody nowadays, like if you go somewhere and have a sit down cup of tea with somebody and have a conversation, more likely or not you'll see that other person just on their phone most of the time, hardly paying attention to you. So you're thinking to yourself, well, why am I wasting time with this person? If they're not willing to have a civilized conversation with me, why should I waste my breath on them? Because you could sit down with somebody and try and speak to them about just things in life in general, and they'll be more likely just tip tapping on their phone, hardly paying attention to you. And also too, I think platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all this other stuff has really contributed to people really fighting each other and being argumentative with each other, because I guarantee you, back when all this stuff didn't exist, people were a lot more calm, civil, and willing to be friendly with people. But nowadays it seems like people are just so uptight, and they just care about nobody but themselves, and they just want to be on their phone the whole time. It's like, what is wrong with these people? And I really think Twitter and Facebook and that has really been a huge factor as to why people have gone downhill. Because you get a lot of people, and even famous people like celebrities and movie stars and rappers and all that, they'll start beef on social media or whatnot and try and get attention or whatnot, and it's just, I think that's what really makes them into a toxic person, along with other things. It's because when you're on social media you can act one way, but when you're out in public you act a different way, and it's like people are putting on a facade. Like, say you go out in public and you meet somebody and they could be acting nice to you one way, but the next minute when you're on social media they could be talking smack about you. So I really think social media, while it has its goods and all that, it can be beneficial in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways it can also be detrimental, because there's a lot of bad that goes along with it. such as people not being nice, and just being toxic individuals. It really just is. Baffling the way people carry on sometimes. You know, and God forbid if you ever ask them to just don't be on social media, like don't be on Twitter or Facebook for like a week. God forbid if that would ever happen, they'd probably not even manage, a day. They'd just be wanting, just be on social media all the time. It's like they're addicted to it. It's like a drug or something, you know. I know, I may sound hypocritical for saying this because I'm technically, videoing right now, but I'm not on social media. I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a Facebook. I don't plan on getting one because there's too much bad luggage that goes along with it. I really do think the world was a lot more at peace and a lot more quiet before these things were invented. You know, I seriously wonder what life would have been like if I was to grow up with my grandparents and my parents' generations without all this social media. Just see what the world was like. Because a lot of things on social media, well, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, it can be really off-putting the way people act sometimes. In many ways it can destroy people's lives. I remember when I was in school, like at some academy assessment or something, we learned about Facebook, and apparently it destroyed this person's life in somewhere or whatnot. I can't remember what the person's name was, but I remember when I was in S2 in academy school, we were like, watching a video of somebody's life getting destroyed by, on Facebook and all that. So I really do think it is a Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and even things like WhatsApp and TikTok, they can be really dodgy and detrimental in a way if you think about it. And I really think it has hurt humanity in a lot of ways. And like I said, there is beneficials to these platforms, you can see, but there's also a lot of detrimentals to them as well. Well, anyways, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this video up. This is like a quick video saying how I think social media in a way has ruined humanity, and I really do think it's just a facade, or something that people are addicted to, and it's sort of destroyed the human means of what makes a human a human. If that makes sense, I don't know. Anyways, guys, I'm going to stop the video here. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and leave your comments down below, and I'll speak to you another time. Peace out.